Wow, what's your ethnicity?
Well, live, by the way.
Yo, what is going on, Sandstorm? Welcome back to another show. Today, I'm joined by Luca from Pudgy Penguins and Wob and Camel from the Sappy Seals. How you guys doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good as well.
That had to be the best starting soon screen question that we've gotten.
Just to answer your question, Luca, Pakistani.
Really? You don't look Pakistani. But I knew the name, and I was like, yeah, he's not white. You look white, dude.
No, it's just the skin, but like maybe the pictures as well. But I'm definitely a brown dude.
and you're that's interesting. Yeah, I wanted that clarity because I saw your name and I was like, this dude looks like Justin Bieber. I was like, there's no
no. I don't. I promise. I've only uploaded pictures. Like, people have seen pictures of me where I've got long hair, but like I don't actually look like that normally.
You're just thirst trapping for the girls. Is that right?
Yeah, got to put a little JP on them.
Trying to get more seal cells.
And dude.
So this is my first time doing two projects on a show at once. Normally, usually just talk about, I guess, the history, which both of you guys' projects have a lot of history already. You know, Pudgy starting first in mid 2021 and Seal starting late August, early September of 2021. I always look at Pudgy as kind of one of the like originators of the cute profile picture. You know, at the time it was punks and bored apes, and then Pudgy Penguins came out, and it was kind of like that's when the cute phase started, where people were like looking for more of, I guess, stuff that I guess they could relate more to. And then obviously you guys kind of had the whole like transfer of ownership. If you want to talk a little bit about that, that happened with, the fishing rods and coal and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely just want to say I'm stoked that Wob and I are giving you your first threesome on the stream.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked for that. There's a first for everything. Yeah, I mean, we took over, like Pudgy was my first NFT project. I instantly knew when I saw it that like it was going to take. And unfortunately, like you kind of alluded to, like my journey started with like the three main projects being punks, apes, and penguins.
Yeah.
And those of us who were there like in the beginning, like I think most of us can kind of agree that those were kind of the three that helped push this market to where it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, like those guys, previous to us just like didn't have previous business experience, at no fault to them. And I kind of told them like they just got lucky, and that's fine and that's okay. But I felt like Pudgy just needed a chance for some real operators to get behind the business and give it a chance for success. And so that was kind of the thought process and the logic behind buying it. Kind of the final straw for me is kind of what you mentioned a couple seconds ago, was like the fishing rods and the eggs was the last straw. Like that was that. And I was one of those fudders, dude. Like I was all over the Instagram, like, and it was immature, and I was dealing with my own stuff while that was happening. Like that's typically not in my character. But I was so mad because I'd spent so much money. I think at one point I had like $500,000 in penguins, and it's like, dude, you're hatching fishing rods out of eggs. Like this is like annoying. Like, dude, this is like, And so one thing led to another, and then I saw Beanie make the bid, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to let that happen. And then, one thing led to another, and here we are today.
Yeah. And I mean, it's awesome to see like someone from the community step up, obviously. And, you know, I kind of agree with you. I feel like it was more so like they launched and they looked cool and looked cute. And like you said, like it was kind of like luck. And then it was like, all right, where do we go from here? And I think, you know, the old owners just kind of didn't know where to go from there. And I'm glad somebody took it over and now, you know, the Penguins are back to thriving, because I do think years from now, like people will look back as Penguins being kind of like a historic, you know, NFT during this time.
Yeah, I mean, not only is it kind of like historic in how it goes, but somebody kind of told me after I made the sale, but us purchasing it was also pretty historic, you know?
Yeah.
Like nobody had really done that up until that point, and came in and try to, you know, give it a chance. So, you know, and back to like the whole point, like I've been in a lot of businesses. I've probably touched like almost every facet of like online business, from SaaS to e-commerce to, you know, B2B stuff. Like, dude, this NFT stuff encompasses all of these different type of businesses and hits it into one. It is definitely the hardest type of online business that I think you can get into if you have the intent of doing it right. Like if you just plan on rug pulling, then it's not that difficult. Yeah. But like doing it the right way is like really tough, dude. So like when you like see people like Cole and those guys and they fail minus the rods and eggs, right? Like, dude, it's not an easy thing to do. There's like 9 moving facets in the business that, like, you know, it's always changing. It's always changing, dude.
Yeah. You need to ideate concepts and execute, but at the same time, you're having to almost like pacify people and give them content and like structure your entire plan in a way where it's not necessarily beneficial for the execution, but it allows you to present stuff to people, right? And you need extra resources there, but you need the funding for that. You need people who, you know, are running social media like intensely, being engaged with the community, keeping everyone sort of interested. And you have to do that alongside trying to build a product which is probably not going to live up to expectations, believe it or not. You know, most things don't live up to expectations, and you have to try your best to sort of knock it out the park and keep people entertained, which is like, it's a juggling act, right?
Yep. And obviously, you know, you guys came out with your quest map, which, you know, we don't need to touch on everything on the quest map, but there's a lot of stuff left up to interpretation, because, you know, I look at it, I just see like a cozy horizon, the awakening, you know, Pingu Games, a brave new world. Like, what is some of the stuff that's on the quest map? Like, what are you guys doing exactly going forward?
Yeah, so we published a Medium article where it makes it kind of easy to put the pieces together. But for context, the awakening was our like massive rebrand and, you know, setting off on that yacht party and kind of just like turning a new chapter. So we're done with the awakening. We're just waiting for, we're doing this like WebGL interactive map. So we're waiting for the last part of that awakening is really the website, which will be live this week. Yeah. And then the Alliance, which we kind of, you kind of are familiar with. And I don't want to give too much sauce. I think the beauty about these things is the vagueness. Like if, you know, one of the things that I've deducted that's made projects really successful is like perception, right? And how you rally the troops and how do you create interest. And so like me telling you what the quest map is not advantageous for necessarily everyone. But I can say that we did publish a Medium article that you can just type in Pudgy Penguins and find. Mm-hmm. And you kind of look at all the things we plan on doing and you can kind of piece the things together. But there is a couple of things here, like a lot of people, there's a huge code that hasn't been cracked yet. Like there's Easter eggs. Like if you look to if you like zoom into like the icicles next to the awakening, like there's like a code. Like there's a bunch of codes that haven't been cracked that will elude you know, certain things. But the main code still hasn't been cracked. I'm pretty shocked because the Penguins were on it for a while. But the biggest one and the hardest code here hasn't been done, but it's pretty difficult. I kind of like to leave it up to surprise. And I think up until this point, the way we've taken over and how we've communicated with the community and the stuff that we've done thus far, like I know that they trust me. And like I have every intention of hitting this out of the park. But part of me has to keep that like anticipation and that excitement. Because if like you don't, then like, you know, everything will be priced in and nobody will get excited or shocked by some of the announcements. And so part of what I'm really trying to do is like keep my mouth closed to a certain extent and like blow minds when the time comes, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, especially with the NFT space, with how quickly things change and how many times projects have to pivot. Is you definitely want to undersell, over deliver, because you know you don't want to talk about all these crazy things you're going to do, and then like obviously things change and then you can't do them, and then people are disappointed rather than being surprised when like you actually do something. So
which brings up a good point, because like the Alliance is probably the Pengu games and the Alliance, you can probably tell what those two things are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty straightforward. And the Alliance is like a series of partnerships, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to release a series of partnerships when the market is down only, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. So chronologically, internally, I'm going to have to probably move from the Awakening to a Cozy Horizon to Penguin Mines and then go back, though I don't want to, and I would love to keep it chronological. But realistically, some of the catalysts that I have in the Alliance are like mind-boggling. And you're not going to drop mind-boggling collaborations and partnerships in the midst of like a super bear market, right? So it's like, even this is like kind of binding me to an expectation. And I talked to the community about it and they're like cool with it. And it's like, it's not the all end be all in terms of making sure this works chronologically, because per the market conditions now, it makes no sense for me to release the 7 partnerships or 10 partnerships that I have in the Alliance and then everybody be shocked that I pulled these partnerships off, but it not really move the needle because nobody's buying NFTs, you know? So like it's a balance, and it's still like as vague as it is, there still is an expectation, and it's tough because, you know, expectations lead to resentment. And the last thing I want to do is make people resentful. But in the same breath, I'm also in the business of, you know, having the number one project in NFT, and you're not going to do that with without a high floor price. And to get a high floor price, you have to be calculated in your decisions. Like you can't release game-changing news when everything is down only, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, you mentioned the Alliance, and as we can see in the picture on the Alliance there was a little Sappy seal hanging out the top of the lighthouse, which we'll cover the Alliance more, but I do want to move on to the Sappy seals, because kind of almost similar to Pudgy, you know, it tackled the cute aspect, and almost, you know, I would look at Sappy seals in the beginning almost as like a failed project. I mean, you guys were literally one decision away from like it just closing down. I mean, the floor had just gone to absolutely nothing. And, you know, one of the main stories of the seals is a lot of the community members stepped up and took over. If you want to talk about that a little bit, Wob.
Yeah. So the project started as just, you know, a cute PFP. Like Pudgy Penguins, obviously very much inspired by Pudgy Penguins and their sort of like success and rallying.
Yeah.
And probably one of the first projects to come out after Pudgy Penguins that adopts that similar sort of style, which just invokes some feeling in you. You know, it's cute, it's exciting, and, you know, it even appeals to like dudes who you wouldn't think would be rocking a Sappy seal, but there's just something about it, you know, where it just resonates with you, right?
Yeah.
So it started out like that, and we didn't really have like ambitious plans. It was almost like Pudgy Penguins, except, you know, we had maybe a tiny, like, we wanted to drop like pixel seals and stuff, right? But like other than that, there was nothing necessarily planned, because at the time it was so hard to know where exactly all of this was heading, right?
Mm-hmm.
You saw different waves of, you know, the metaverse craze. You saw like people doing like art drops. It changed literally like every other week. And so at the time, you know, all we had were these cute pictures, and then people were like, wait, these are actually businesses, right? And we're just like holding some sort of like ownership in them. And then from there, you know, expectations go higher, demand goes higher, competition increases, projects crash, the floors drop. You know, that's basically what happened to us. Sorry, one sec. My throat is really bad. But yeah, I mean, like we pretty much launched as the NFT market topped. I think Sappy Seals was actually the top signal of the NFT market, which is quite fun. But from there, you know, we built the community. We really like the social aspect of NFTs and how they bring people together was like super interesting to us, right? Like it's like you have these people who have ownership and they feel like they're, you know, part of one thing, they're together. And you can rally people around that and have people work together in a coordinated fashion. And that's what the Sappy Seals community is sort of known for. So when the floor crashed, you know, we try to inspire people and get them excited and get them going, and really work together. And so you said like the community sort of came forward. I worked on Sappy Seals. It was sort of like my thing. But I started speaking to people in the community. We had mods come on who were really interested in like the whole P2E side of things and like how the metaverse concept will play out. We had like DGen, for example, who came in really early, who was super into like DeFi and like using NFTs to make it like positive sum and not zero sum. And then we had NFTZ, who was like super interested in like, Treeverse and similar like MMOs and such. And from there, we sort of like came up with this idea that or vision that we wanted to create some sort of like metaverse collaborative like game, something like that. And it just kept evolving and evolving and evolving. We brought in more and more people. We saw people in the community just offering help, wanting to be a part of the whole thing. And so we just slowly kept bringing on more and more people and fleshing out our ideas. What was interesting is that, usually if you're trying to create like a product like this, you spend quite a few months, just sitting, ideating, planning, coming up with the branding, coming up with the concepts, everything like that. But we were almost doing that as we went along because we needed stuff to present to the community. So over the course of the Sappy Seal sort of lifespan, you've seen this concept of just like a collaborative metaverse really like come to life. Like it's changed. It's gone from 2D to 2.5D to now 3D. We've got like insane branding. We're going to do these crazy like events, esports, PC, like literally like all the buzzwords that you love. Yeah. And it's really like changed. It's crazy to think like this all happened in the space of like 7 months.
Yeah.
And that's normally like the time you spend planning something like this. And we've actually like cultivated a community as we've gone along. And we know it's going to be a long journey, but it's just super exciting to have people along the way who are supporting it, who just really, fuck with the vision. It's been really fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I've been a part of the Seals since September, and I remember like, a lot of the, I think you're like the original influencers. I was in like Telegram chats with them, and I didn't mint the Seals, but I remember like on the comeback when you guys were like, coming back up, and I remember seeing memes all over Twitter, and like I started memeing with Seals, and like it was just fun. Like, the project there was no roadmap, there was nothing that we were doing. We were just posting memes, having fun, and like to see that turn into like what it is today is definitely really cool.
Yeah, the memes is like such an important part, right? Like memes are like the best way of like spreading information and like sort of displaying like culture. So they actually like they're just memes, but they actually mean so much. And that's the thing that you sort of see that's like Pudgy Penguins and Sappy Seals share is that we have these like independent cultures that people just enjoy being a part of. And it's the same reason why like, if Pudgy Penguins or Sappy Seals rug tomorrow, the community would still exist. There would still be people there enjoying and celebrating these NFTs. That's something that's quite powerful that we both share.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's why I say like, even, I mean, like with Pudgy, just because the original founder, or whatever, like couldn't steer the ship, like the community stepped up and took over. Like it would have been so easy for everyone to just write it off and say, all right, like we're done with this and we're gonna just sell all these and that's gonna be that. But as I said, Luca came, stepped up, and now it's steering in a different direction, a better direction. Continuing with Sappy, obviously you guys have staking. Over 85% of the Seals are staked in the staking contract, earning the Pixel token, which is the native token for the Pixelverse and the game you guys have coming out, Pixel Pets. I guess what made you guys decide to do Pixel Pets and Pixelverse? Like, what was the idea behind that?
Yeah, so originally we had the concept of just like we wanted to have a hotel-esque sort of game where people can just like collaborate and talk to each other. But from there, we just saw like every other project doing that, right? And we just thought, well, nothing is necessarily unique, and this craze is sort of gone. We need to aim bigger. We need to like expand our view. And we could have released, like a Sappy Sealverse or something like that, which everyone is doing. But we thought like, let's generalize it. Let's try and bring in as many people as possible, because that's essentially what Web3 is about, right? It's like embracing everyone around you and working together. And if we can bring in a way of like adopting people and bringing in that nostalgia and trying new interesting things, then, you know, it's better to do that than to just focus on, you know, some seal game essentially, right? But you know, there's different approaches, but this really resonated with us because we're all very much gamers. Pixel art is like the one thing that really like shouts games, right? And we thought, let's use that as like the unifying layer, like the whole pixel aesthetic, to sort of unite all of these projects together. And as you can see, like what's displayed on the screen right now is sort of like the embodiment of that, right? It's like all your favorite characters, but just in like a form that everyone loves. And yeah, that's how the inception came about. You know, obviously we're trying to do a lot more like Sappy stuff as well, like Sappy seals, and focus on that. That sort of branding, have like animated shows and such. You know, we're working towards that, but the Pixelverse is really like what everyone's most excited about for now.
Yeah. And then did you guys do, I guess I always tell people like the reason why I like the idea of pixel and stuff like that is because it's going to be hard to compete with like a AAA game studio, you know, like an Activision or something like that, as to where, you know, we'll see, I guess, with the Bored Ape metaverse and their game, how well they do. But, you know, just from seeing the clip that they post on Twitter, like it wasn't anything crazy. And I think that's going to be the thing with people that try to compete with big multi-billion-dollar game studios is like, they're going to be hard to compete with versus like Pixel. You know, anyone can make like a Pixel thing and make it like playable and fun. Like people love Pixel stuff. Was that kind of the idea behind that?
Yeah, it's like it's a timeless not a form of art, but a timeless concept, right? You don't necessarily have to try and box yourself in with like the whole Unreal Engine, like trying to get the highest fidelity graphics and having to develop these like really intense SDKs, you know, sort of like with Sandbox, right? Like there's so much that you have to try and develop, and it's difficult, and you need a lot of resources, and you know, this is also difficult, but it's niche but generalized enough to appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so appealing for us to develop. You know, we're trying to bring in a bunch of stuff that people are familiar with, but mix in our own stuff that hasn't been done before in a way where there isn't another Pixelverse. You know, you can't just create another one because it's so unique in what it does and how all the modules come into play.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, you guys are also going through a complete rebrand. You're going to change the metadata, the Omni metadata, for the Sappy seals. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, you know, Sappy Seal's original art, you know, everyone has their sort of qualms with the project, like after you've launched it, right? It's like, oh, I wish I did that better. Wish I did this better. And the art was like one thing that, you know, everyone loves the art, but we thought we could make it more detailed, better to work with like collabs and hit the mainstream. You know, right now, like we think it's like almost there, but like we want to make it perfect before we start pushing onwards, right? Because this is going to be a multi-year project. You know, we're trying to keep this running for decades, and so you need to make sure that every piece is lined up before you try and tackle something like that. It's sort of like what Luca was talking about, right? Where he's been taking time to sort of get everything in order, fully charge up, and then get ready to sprint and catch everyone off guard. And we're trying, you know, a very similar approach. It's the same mindset.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get it right the first time, and these are going to be, you know, multi-year assets, and the people are going to build their Web3 brands around it. Like I've branded my seal, you know, everybody knows Purple Hoodie Antler Guy. That's me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But, you know, we want it to be scalable and something that people continue to come back to. And as the space evolves, the art will remain consistent and something that people love.
Yeah. No, yeah, you've definitely given the antlers and purple hoodies a name for sure.
Yeah, and I see collections keep adding them, and I think they're just trying to get my eyes on them. It's interesting.
But definitely those all the shit posting under Bored Ape tweets definitely paid off with branding it the purple.
It was
hoodie.
It was a lot of hard work.
Okay, so, you know, the main reason why, you know, we have both projects on today is we wanted to talk about the alliance that we kind of touched on earlier with Luca and the Penguins. You know, the Seals and the Penguins are going into the alliance. If you guys want to talk about what exactly is the alliance, what is that going to look like? Whichever one of you guys want to talk about it, feel free.
Yeah, so I think from our perspective, like the alliance is really, without saying too much, but long story short, it's a sign of good faith. One of the things that we're doing internally is we're creating, a children's book, as well as, spearheading a game. So for anybody who joins the Alliance will be included in those stuff, right? Because the story with the Pudgy Penguins is there was a great blizzard. The penguins emerged from the blizzard, but they still have to find their way home and also fight off the evil bears of negativity. And they can't do it alone. And so through their journey, they conclude that they have to form an alliance with other people from other worlds in hopes of beating the evil bears. And so that's how it kind of incorporates into our lore. But, from a forward-facing perspective, anybody who joins the alliance is included in our game as well as in our book.
Yeah.
And, and then from the flip side, I kind of just told anybody like, hey, look, if you join the alliance, I just expect a sign of good faith that if you feel like there's ways to integrate our community into yours, and if there's any features that you guys can include us in, let's do it. There's a little bit more to that, but I don't want to really dive down that rabbit hole. But from a very basic standpoint, that's kind of how we're looking at it right now.
Yeah. Now you mentioned a game. What is there any concepts for what the game is going to look like? What kind of game it's going to be?
Yeah, I can't say too much, but there'll be an announcement when the time comes about it.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
It's bullish. I know all about it. It's bullish.
And then I guess as far as the SEALs side, what does the alliance look like for you guys?
So, we're planning a lot of things, particularly around our rebrand and how we're sort of going to approach that. We're trying to focus more on the creative side. We've done the gamification side. That's pretty much nailed. We're working on that. That's in the background, but we want things for people to, enjoy on a day-to-day basis. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do with, the metadata concept that we're talking about, co-marketing, bringing in different projects and embracing each of them. We're all about diversity and we want to collaborate with as many people as possible. And the alliance is almost a way to do that, right? Because it's not just like, oh, here's a Pudgy Penguins and Sappy Seals collab. It's like there's a third entity, the alliance, and anyone can collab with that thing, right? And collab with everyone surrounding that who's a part of it. And so it opens a different type of innovation that isn't necessarily, my project and your project. It's a collaborative hub. It's sort of similar to what we've tried with the Pixelverse, right? It's like having people work together and collaborate for one sort of vision. And it's the same thing with the alliance, right? It's like a bunch of notable projects that all trust each other and will find ways to collab with each other, are working together to join this and grow this sort of thing. And we don't necessarily know what that looks like right now. We have some baselines of what to go off and where to take it. But, in a few years from now, it could be something crazy that we can't even imagine yet. It's just like trying to create innovation and bring people together. And then from there, things might take off.
Yeah, I think it boils down to two basic concepts: interoperability and scalability. Working together with all these projects, they have all their platforms that they're making. Luca kind of touched on his book. Obviously, our big thing is Pixelverse, and it comes down to how do we work together to make sure we all succeed. And so the more we work together, the more we scale together, the more we'll grow, the more we will be successful.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because in retrospect, 10,000 pictures is not a lot, and it's not you're not going to get a big community. You might have 4,000, 5,000 holders if lucky, and if you bridge these communities together, it can just create an even bigger community within itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, Camel.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I think we've seen that recently, right? A lot of the projects right now with this recent bear market, there's been a massive flush, right? A bunch of projects have just died, a bunch have rugged, but there's been a bunch that have just stood tall, right?
Yeah.
And everyone now knows them as the notable names, and those ones that are left standing are the ones that we are going to try and collaborate and work with, because they're established now, and they're the ones who have actually been trying to collaborate with others and embed themselves into the NFT space as these historic collections that are now known as the NFT space, So yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be good. So happy to hear that. Obviously we are doing the show in Sandbox, and I don't believe I don't know. Do Pudgy or Seals? Do either of you guys own land in the Sandbox?
I do not.
No, not currently. This is our first venture into the Sandbox.
Do you guys have any plans going forward with the Sandbox?
Other than you, no.
we
You are our exposure. This was our exposure into the Sandbox.
Okay.
Yeah. The Sandbox is cool, right? It's a little bit far out, but you guys are trying, or not you guys. The Sandbox in general are trying some cool stuff. The games and stuff that you create in the Sandbox can be fun. And we've looked at the Sandbox and actually wanted to develop products and games inside of it. Because we come from that sort of gaming space, and it does allow you to create these like experiences, which we're a big fan of. We like leaving our imprint everywhere in the space, and that's why alongside Pudgy's we've sort of come together to make our imprint in Sandbox, to be one of the first people that sort of properly try and work towards it and adopt it, and then in the long term, whatever Sandbox becomes, we can be there ready to sort of grab it when it comes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's definitely hard to pick with all the metaverses coming out. I mean, it's not like there's no scarcity of land, I guess, unless you pick the right metaverse, but anyone can pop up with a metaverse and throw out plots of land. It's just hard to know which one's going to be the successful one.
And I think that's why interoperability is extremely important. I mean, why just kind of box yourself into one metaverse when you can be in all of them?
Yeah. Definitely.
For me, it's more about like the metaverse concept is more about like distributing your IP to as many places as possible for the soft exposure, being imprinted in the space. That's pretty much where the space is heading, right? Projects all banding together to work on things. It's the same sort of thing as well, right? With the metaverses, you're trying to band into as many as possible to make sure that everyone knows your name and can experience your product, your platform, your brand anywhere they go. And that's what's most exciting to me about all of this.
Yeah. And you mentioned IP, and it's something that is kind of big with the NFT space. And anytime someone asks me about NFTs, is like, I guess with Pudgy Penguins, do the holders own the intellectual property to their Pudgy Penguin?
Yeah, as of now, no, but that's a conversation that we're starting. We were just waiting to kind of stand up the business, but it's now
Going forward,
right
possibility.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, naturally, my perspective is I think that's like a beautiful thing, and that's something that's necessary. I just haven't weighed out the pros and the cons, because I know there's cons. Like, for example, Pudgy Penguins is all about positivity and love. If I give somebody rights and then they go make, a death video with Pudgy Penguins as like the star, it hurts the brand, So there's like more cons like that, but like the human in me and like the guy who's all about freedom and prosperity is like, yeah, dude, you bought it, you should own and be able to do with it. But there are cons, and I just got to weigh out the pros and cons and make that decision. So right now we haven't really touched it. We've kept it the way it's always been, but there are cons to that side, especially like, we're trying to build like a kid, like a brand that like, kids can watch and, be a part of, and, teenagers and like stuff like that. And so you don't want to create something that, our angle isn't cool and exclusive. It's cute and inclusive. Yeah. And a little more sensitivity when you go to cute and inclusive as to like making sure that people don't ruin the brand,
Yeah, that's true. I never really thought about the malicious side of it, like someone using it for like, I mean, Pepe the Frog was a symbol of hate like a couple of years ago, Yeah. So I never really thought about that. What about for the Sappy Seals?
Yeah, so we're literally in the same boat as Luca, where we haven't necessarily distributed the IP to the holders yet, and we're still sort of thinking about how we would go about doing that. So everything that he said, we sort of parrot. I would say that, like, at the end of the day, it's a culture thing, right? You can not give the IP to people, and people will still be able to celebrate and use their NFTs however they see fit. It's just about how you approach that as like an organization or a company, right? It's like, are you going to try and slam down everyone who tries to do anything creative, or are you going to let them flourish? And, we're obviously of the camp that we're going to let people do whatever they want with their NFTs, right? And Penguins is the same.
All right. Interesting. There was a question from Abe. I think it's Abe Lincoln. It's a weird way to spell Lincoln, but he wanted to know if there's plans for Pixelverse mass marketing and user onboarding campaign.
Yeah. So we do have, we have quite a big esports background. We know a lot of people in the space, and traditionally, the competitive element of games is what brings people in, and then brings in the casuals, and then they get to experience the whole thing as well. So we're going to try a lot of approaches that sort of bring that element in, but we're also going to try like more traditional ways of marketing a product, a game. Just because you're in the NFT space doesn't mean you have to box yourself into just doing like the traditional NFT stuff. Like for example, like the most basic thing, like running a Twitter or Instagram ad. Like people shun that and look down on that, but like that's actually a really good way of getting your product out. Yeah. So we're going to be trying like so many things like that. We have different methods of like onboarding, like 100K users like immediately with like a button click, but we're obviously not going to reveal that stuff yet. But there's like strategies you can do to do that. It doesn't necessarily mean that every one of those like 100K people will convert to users, but they'll at least get the opportunity to. And we've got like so many things in our playbook that we're planning, but you don't want to drop it too early because the gamers are very scared of NFTs, right? So you need to make sure that your product is like perfect before you do that.
Yeah, I know. Was it yesterday? GameStop announced their wallet, and like they tweeted from their main GameStop account about GameStop NFT in their wallet, and people were just roasting them in the comments. Like, I don't know what people's deal is. Like, why I guess they hate it because they don't understand it. I think that's the only thing I can really conclude. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we always see when something's new and innovative on the market. Literally every time. I mean, look at like electric cars 10 years ago. Everyone hated them, and now I think it's like 1 in every 100 cars on the road's a Tesla.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Bitcoin was a scam 5 years ago.
It still is.
Still is a scam, yeah.
Yeah, says the people that are actually accumulating it secretly. I think gamers are basically scared of the NFT space because, like, as it exists currently, it's very poor, right? Like, we literally have just gone from profile pictures to products within the space of 6 months, and that's not even enough time to get a product out, like a proper, solid one. And so they've only really been exposed to the scams and stuff, which are essentially glorified Ponzi schemes. Yeah. And there's no surprise. They haven't seen anything good. They haven't seen anything creative that's tried to, adopt the real world trading element of like the crypto side and like bringing NFTs as like a way of doing the whole like ownership system with like skins and stuff. Like people aren't used to that. It's a concept they're familiar with, but the way it's organized and structured is way different to how people's brains work currently because they see it as like, oh, you're trying to monetize games, but not really. It's like you're giving ownership to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Games have already been monetized. Like microtransactions. I remember seeing some stat. It was a couple of years ago. It was just like how much money, like Call of Duty, as a Call of Duty player, like how much money they make off of microtransactions. And I mean, you see it with Fortnite. Like they're literally, billions of dollars from people buying skins, but nobody owns those skins. I have some of the rarest Fortnite skins and like they just sit on my account and I can't do anything with them.
Yeah, it's like if you're paying, let's say you're playing Candy Crush, right? Yeah. And you buy 200 tokens for like £5. What's the difference between you doing that and you buying it from an LP and paying someone else? It's the exact same concept, but it just means that a lot of this like parasitic like revenue models aren't going straight to the company that's like organizing it, which is like they need funding and stuff, but a lot of the time it's not necessarily beneficial to the end user, and this just gives more ownership to people and makes it like a better experience for everyone.
I agree. And we're seeing some clips here of the Pixel Pets popping up on screen, which we haven't really talked much. I actually did have a question about the Pixel Pets. Breeding is, we're just gonna say soon.
Is that a question or a statement?
Well, I was going to ask a question about breeding. Is there going to be possibility for like when new Pixel Pets emerge for more deities, or will it only ever be 4?
So there is actually, we revealed in the Git book a new deity.
Okay. Well, I can't read, so.
Well, it was subtle, right? It's like we went to the pixel pet section, but we showed off a deity at the top. But we're going to be doing a lot more world building around the project, and you'll sort of see these deities come to life and more enter the world, and explain the sort of storyline, because there is a narrative behind the entire Pixelverse idea.
Yeah.
Just trying to make like a raw metaverse platform is not the best approach, right? You need some narrative to steer people and keep them interested, and we think like the deities are like such a epic way of doing that.
Mm-hmm. And if people wanted to find this Git book, where would they find it at? Because I definitely think people should take the time to read it over. I did read it. I'll be honest, anytime I read anything about deities, I kind of skip over because I didn't get one when I hatched all my eggs. So I'm just like, I don't even care.
Why don't you buy some more right now and see if you hatch it?
I thought, because the one of them that hasn't been hatched is the fire one, right?
Yeah.
I thought about getting some fire eggs, but we might see if people squirm a little bit more.
Maybe. There's going to be other opportunities to get them as well. Like, I don't necessarily know the models or can say that. That's more of like an FE Daiku question. But like I'm imagining that there's ways, maybe like the top person in the leaderboard for this month could win one. There's different ways that you can approach it, which aren't necessarily attached to, oh, you have to pay for this NFT and then you win it. Making it less RNG. Like, there's so many ways that we can play this thing.
So you're saying there could be like a tournament and the winner of the tournament gets a deity?
Didn't say that, but you did.
You're saying it's a possibility.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Obviously, you guys have been doing the bi-weekly updates, which I think is great. Do you think that those have been well received?
Definitely. I think that's something that the community really loves and kind of gives an inside view on the back end of what's going on, because it's really easy when you don't see a product yet to think that or say that they're not doing anything and it's a slow rug. But these dev updates are really helpful in kind of boiling down difficult concepts to the masses and let people know what we're actually doing, what timelines we have, what snags we might have, or what groundbreaking ideas we might have. I mean, our dev team is world class, and I think they do a fantastic job with this.
Nice.
Yeah. I think why you don't normally see blogs, updates, spaces, bi-weekly updates, for example, like Sappy Seals and Pudgy Penguins are doing, is because it's very exposing, right? It's like most of the time, in this part of the development cycle, you don't necessarily know what your product's gonna fully look like by the end of it, and so concepts can change week to week, and sometimes letting that information out can be incredibly like punishing, because you already have almost like investors before it's even out, and so a lot of people are scared to share that information. But I think if you really embrace that, like, you haven't necessarily figured out everything, right, but you're working towards stuff, like having that transparency, people love it. And I think that's like something that Pudgy Penguins is doing amazing right now, compared to the previous leadership, is actually letting people know like what you've been working on, where you are, and why you haven't released stuff, or when you're going to,
Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, even back in like just trading random shit coins, there would be always those people in the Telegram that would like want to know like what's going on, and like they would want an update, and I'm like, dude, this is slow rogue. There are no updates. Like, this is over. And yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, there's several NFT projects that I've bought, and they don't update anything. And you ask in the Discord, like, yo, like, what's going on? And they either act like you don't deserve an update, or they just say that they're building. And that's kind of where the meme of people building comes from, is like, yeah, like that's just what people say when they're not actually building. Or I don't know, but I love that you guys are actually showing what's going on and what you're putting together. And the 3D, I think at the bottom of this, it shows the 3D model that you guys have been working on. Yeah, that was interesting to me.
Yeah, it's the pixelate algorithm. There's like so much like image processing and stuff that's going into this, but it's like trying to use that 3D like sort of art workflow, sorry, to like quickly deliver environments and worlds without having to like directly draw out pixel art. The main issue with pixel art is that you can't scale it efficiently because like you have to literally hand draw everything. Whereas with this, you just put you create a 3D tree, you chuck a sprite or sorry, you chuck a shader on it, and then you like color it in, and bam, you have like a pixel art tree. And you can take the same approach that like Yuga's taking with their whole like other side, and like how quickly they can get that out and scale it, you know, without having to worry about the individual artists that you onboard who are going to end up like bottlenecking and lagging your entire project.
Yeah.
Guys, I hate to interrupt, but I have to get to this conference. Like my team is messaging me.
Okay.
So I just want to say thank you for the time. Wob, you and I will talk about your origins later in the week. SandStorm, you guys are doing amazing things. So thank you for having us. And sorry for hopping out a little bit early, but I've been getting like 2 text messages of a minute saying I have to be here. I have to be here. So
yeah, no, you're fine, dude.
Let me go make some progress for the team. So you guys have a great day. You know, have an amazing day, and thank you for the time.
Awesome.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks.
Yeah. Great chatting to you.
I was just about to ask him if we were going to get a Pudgy Penguins token. If there's going to be a utility token for Pudgy Penguins.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, yeah, like, that's the thing with tokens. I mean, it was a fad for a little bit. People releasing tokens to go with their NFT, and you stake it, and, you know, it ends up going to zero because there's nothing that you can really do with it. Which, is there any alpha you guys can release to Sappy Seal holders about DeFi protocols or anything, any marketplace updates coming?
Yeah, so I'll start with the DeFi protocols because that's what I've been most adjacent to, right? You know, the DeFi protocols, they're basically like there, right? There's just a couple extra features that we're adding. You know, the bulk of them is done. We're not really like trying to accelerate these right now because we're still focusing on like the Pixel Pets Alpha and stuff. Like, we don't want to just release DeFi protocols without intention.
Yeah,
we want to grease up the system and get people more tokens. You know, get those emissions going so that like when we actually release stuff, there's actually you have enough tokens to actually play the game and interact with everything. But just releasing it haphazardly without intention is like not the best thing, right? So, you know, they're almost ready, but we want to have like a really nice gamified interface for that. And, you know, I don't want to give like an estimate of like when you can expect it, but just know that like if we do want to speed run it in a short time span, we can.
Yeah, they're in stress testing right now. Like,
yeah.
All right. We'll just say soon. Just soon.
Yeah,
I hate that word.
They're going to answer
soon.
Yeah. It's like, what else could you say? Because like you give a timeline and then people are angry, and then if you miss it, and then it's like, okay, well,
so no more timelines.
Yeah,
learned our lesson.
Well, not to ask about a timeline, but with the metadata, you know, is that going to be something I guess that happens this year? Like, next year?
Yeah, obviously, yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, Clover right now. So right now she's designing every single trait from scratch. With a new like highly detailed like design to it, and she's given us like for every trait she's given us like 3 to like 5 different iterations of them. So it's time consuming, but you know, we want to nail it and pick the right ones because this is like very important for us because the first time we did the art wasn't as we sort of wanted or expected. So, you know, it's not an immediate rush. You know, the Sappy seals are still cute. People are still buying the Sappy seals because of Pixelverse, right? Like that and the memes. Whereas like the whole like brand building stuff and when we need to pivot, like when we actually start pushing those initiatives, then the brand and like redo of the art needs to come out, right? So there's no immediate rush, but I'll say that like Clover's done so many of the traits. We're still obviously refining them, but I don't want to give timelines, but like Q3 is like it should almost definitely be out by Q3. Like we've already written the code base for the whole metadata thing anyway. Like that's already done. So like, you know, once we want to deploy it, we can.
Yeah. And there's not really many projects that have, I guess, have done that. Are there any projects that have like, I guess, completely switched the whole metadata of their project?
Yeah, there's like, I think like Ethalians has, and like Muri's maybe like they had an issue with that.
Oh yeah, it was like too dark or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. So there's the projects that have done that, but there's not really been ones that have like rebranded and positioned themselves to like move forward and create a brand from it, you know. So that's something maybe unique we're doing, but it's fine to take these things slowly and really be calculated about it.
Yeah.
It could come to the point where we're just like, maybe we don't even need to do this. I don't think that will ever come, but there's no need to rush it or try and get it out as fast as possible.
Yeah. So like, I guess I'm just I have so many questions about it. Cause like, so let's take Camol Seal, for instance, the purple hoodie with the antlers. Now say like with the rebrand, like what will he be able to do with that?
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that?
Well, I was just saying, like, you take Camel's seal with the purple hoodie and the antlers. Now, say like with the rebrand, like, he'll be able to switch his traits, correct?
So he'll still have the purple hoodie and the antlers, right? But we're investigating different ways of retaining the rarity but allowing customization. Okay. Now, the initial model that we released isn't the one that I think we're going to go with. We've like adopted another one which like completely preserves the rarity and introduces like loads of new traits, so you still have like diversity and people can find create their dream seal, right? Yeah. But you don't have any of the downsides of like maybe the rarities get screwed or you need to try it, like it confuses people, right? Like we want to have like almost like a Build-A-Bear experience, but still retain everything that you're love.
Like a character creator, basically.
Yeah. And I know you guys mentioned something on a Twitter space of like maybe if somebody went to NFT NYC, they could get like a button for their seal to like show that they went to that event. Something along the lines of that. Which I think that would be cool to see.
Yeah, it's definitely in the works. Like that is, adding accessories and like things that can add more value to your NFTs over time is like super important to people, right? It's like the whole concept of why people invest in them is to get value out of them. So, it's a cool way of showing that, you've put in the work and you're getting sort of rewarded for that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it'd be really cool, and not committing myself to any work, but going forward, like if we do throw more IRL events, somehow incorporating that into like cosmetic items in PV too, I mean that's something exciting, something that we could explore, and it's like a collectible.
No, it is. It's definitely cool. I'm excited for the future with the seals, the penguins, the alliance, everything going on. That's pretty much all I got. If there's anything else you guys would like to add.
Nothing in particular. Camel, have you got anything?
I don't think so. I want to give some alpha, but I don't have any. Do you have any? I mean, I think we gave some already, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Well, I could say like I think I've already given this alpha before, but like we really want to start, with the rebrand, we really want to start pushing like Instagram Shorts, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, that sort of stuff, to get the brand out there in people's faces, and really grow it. Like you've sort of seen what Pudgy Penguins are doing with their Instagram, right? Like they're already up to 50K followers. Creating something that like everyone is exposed to, like we're definitely going to go down that track. But obviously there's bottlenecks, right? Because you need to get the art done first, then you need the branding on top of that, and then you need to start like producing the animations and everything that is going to go out. So once we get that in place, we're going to start putting that onto every single social media platform you can imagine, and brand building the traditional way, because like there's no reason to, I said this before, but there's no reason to just stick to NFTs. You can really do the traditional methods of growing brands because that's what everyone else does.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be a lifestyle brand at the end of the day. Like, we want to be everywhere.
Seals are a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle.
It is.
And I mean, a lot of people talk about merging Web 2 and Web 3, and I feel like it's a big buzzword in this space right now. And I think that's something that we really want to embrace, really brand Sappy seals as the household NFT.
Yeah, you can't, like people say like they want to merge Web 2 and Web 3, but you don't just merge Web 2 and Web 3 by doing like one
event.
Like one t-shirt collab. That's not how you do things. Like you need to sort of expand the reach of your product by yourself, and that's something that we want to embrace.
By getting yourself a 20% discount code to spend using code ARFARF.
I don't even know what Spindrift is. I've seen that being posted. It's like, it's almost like the Pilk thing. It's just like,
Yeah, but they actually responded to us and Pepsi didn't. So
Oh, Spindrift replied.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, that's something maybe that'll have some in the future. I don't know. Like we literally just this happened last night. I woke up and I got like 100 DMs about, hey, you guys need to talk to Spindrift, and so I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's mainly just Scruss pushing that narrative. It's quite funny.
He sent me like 50 DMs. No, but I mean, it's actually really cool because it is combining Web 2 and Web 3, but it's not just one brand collab that we're trying to do. We're trying to collaborate with everyone. Like, we're not going to lock ourselves to one sparkling water. Is that sparkling water? Or is it, I think it's a sparkling water.
I think it's a sparkling water. From
Yeah.
the pictures I've seen, it definitely looks like almost like a sparkling water.
Yeah, but we're not going to limit ourselves to
Utility.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is it right
hydration.
here.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not gonna limit ourselves to just Spindrift. Like we're gonna do so much other stuff. I really don't want to leak some of the other people we're talking to, but there's some popular brands, at least in my eyes. Maybe not in everyone's, but they're really cool brands that have established themselves in their niches, and I think it's really exciting what everything we're planning, and we're not forcing it. We're doing it organically, figuring out what works, how it works, the timeline for it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm all for it. If I get some free Spindrift out of it. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on today. We're coming here to the hour mark where we usually shut her down. Like I said, I'm excited to see where everything goes, and excited for more Pixel Pet Alpha and for the game to release. So I have a game to stream again.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for having us up.
Yeah, anyone watching the stream, make sure you guys are following the Sappy Seals on Twitter. Follow the Pudgy Penguins. Definitely read through the Git book. I recommend it, even though I missed some stuff in there. I might need to reread it. And join the SandStorm Discord. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the stream. And
Awesome.
we'll be live again tomorrow, I believe. So same time.
Awesome. Great host. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you guys for coming on. Appreciate it.